Awesome. It's 8:03. We'll start now, inshallah, and we'll just keep the live open just for other people to join us. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. My name is Akbar. I'm joined here by Brother Salman Khan. And today, the YM Professional Development team is going to be talking about campus life, internship workshops, and general college readiness. So, without further ado, here we go. My name is Akbar Pathan. I'm a student at Stevens Institute of Technology right next to Manhattan. I'm on the New Jersey side, so shout out to all my New Jersey guys. I'm a second year studying quantitative finance, and there's been a lot of, I'd say, struggles and benefits of being a person who is a Muslim on an American campus. And Brother Salman here, he's the founder of Hidayah Services. He studied a lot here in the States, undergrad and postgrad. And so he'd like to share a few wise words today, not just about breaking into college, but taking advantage of the college experience, especially as a Muslim.
All right. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. It's great to be here with you today. We're going to be talking about Campus Life 101. And so when Akbar says college readiness, really what we're thinking about here is actually jumping into college as opposed to preparing for the application process. And so with that, I'll just talk a little bit at the beginning about some of the organizations highlighted here, Hidayah Services and Muslim Campus Life, and then I'll jump into the content. And if you have questions, Akbar, feel free to monitor the chat and let me know. I'm happy to pause throughout.
Will do.
All right, amazing. So just a little bit of background on myself. I worked as a college counselor in 2 high schools. I worked in the admissions office of one of the more selective colleges in the country. And I've done a lot of workshops like this at different, schools, centers, libraries across the country. And I'm currently a PhD student studying education as well at Harvard. So the first organization I want to talk to you guys about is Muslim Campus Life. And this is an organization that we started end of 2019, 2020, that is focused on advocating. Oh my gosh, fire alarm in my building. Oh no.
Oh, technical difficulties. No worries, Brother Salman. These things happen. I can take it over a little bit from here.
Okay. It looks like maybe it's a test. I don't know what's happening. Okay, let's keep going.
False alarm.
That is so strange. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so with Muslim Campus Life, the focus of the organization is really to advocate for the needs of Muslim students on college campuses across the country. And alhamdulillah, so we have a wonderful team of people from across the higher ed space, from people from admissions, from associate deans to Muslim chaplains. And really what we're trying to do is really strategize and think about what does an ideal campus look like in terms of how they serve their Muslim students. And so alhamdulillah, we've been developing a lot of cool resources. We held a webinar last February for Ramadan to help campuses prepare for Ramadan. We had great representation from different colleges across the country coming to hear from our speakers about how to prepare their campuses for Ramadan and thinking about, things like even admit day on your campus. Last year that happened during Ramadan. So thinking about, how are they accommodating Muslim students and thinking about how their lunch experience is going to be and things like that. And so we actually developed these flyers as well in partnership with ICNYU and Imam Khalid Latif, really sharing these resources with universities to really push them to prepare better for Muslim students during their Ramadan experience. We also developed this questionnaire, which we hope students will take when they get accepted to a college and visit a college. Ask your university these questions. Let them know that you care about the resources that they're providing Muslim students. And we're going to talk more about this, inshallah. And then download the Muslim College Guide and share it widely. This is a free resource that we've developed with the chaplains, with the higher ed staff that I talked about, that is really meant to be a resource for all of you to use when you're navigating the college process, thinking about what college you want to go to, and so on and so forth. And this is a great resource to share with your school counselor. Even if you go to a public school, your school counselor is going to be dealing with Muslim students. And so having them understand how to best serve that group of students is really, really important. So alhamdulillah, we've been pushing this as a resource to different school counselors across the country as well, and really just trying to share it as broadly as possible. So you can check that out on our website as well. And then the last resource here I want to talk about, which I hope all of you guys who are watching at college will help with, is the Muslim Campus Index. And this is really just a resource where we're just trying to capture what services are available for Muslim students on different college campuses. And so you'll see the name of the college, what state it's in. Do they have access to a chaplain who's full-time, part-time? Do you not have a chaplain? Do you have access to a prayer space on campus? Do you have access to halal food on campus? Do you have access to Muslim student organizations on campus? Do you have access to flexible housing options if you're going to have to dorm, depending on the school? So all these things are really, really important. And in some ways, just very basic things that we should all be aware of when we're making these very important decisions that cost tens and thousands of dollars. And so check out the Muslim Campus Index. And I hope there's a form at the bottom. If you don't see your college listed, please fill it out and we'll add it to the index, inshallah. So please, that's Akbar, I don't think Stevens is on here. So I'm looking at you, right? And
I'll get it on there tonight.
So, fill this out, share the khair, right? And let people know what services are offered for your campus. All right. And then the second organization, which is a little bit more relevant for today, is Hidayah Services, which is guiding Muslims through the college application process with expertise and excellence. And so we do a lot of providing workshops and professional development. This is actually our 77th workshop, alhamdulillah, webinar that we've done over the last 10 years around college applications, financial aid, college essays, internships, succeeding within college, and even staff development for high schools, how to write your teacher recommendation letters and things like that. And then we also work with students individually and alhamdulillah work with a lot of different high schools to better support their students. Okay, so for the YM Professional Development Series, this is our third session actually that we've done together. And so far we've discussed conquering the college application, financial aid fundamentals, and we even held some individual office hours for YM youth who want to have more of a one-on-one session and talk about some things. So we did that in the past, alhamdulillah. And today what we're going to be focusing on is campus life. Like I said, succeeding within college and making the most of your college experience, and then landing your first internship. And so we'll try to fit this in within the next 50 minutes, or hopefully 40 minutes. You have time for Q&A. But just bear with me and definitely ask questions throughout. Okay. Excuse me. So some of you may not be in college just yet. And so I just wanted to start with this simple framework that we've developed with Muslim Campus Life around how to choose a college. And so the first thing that you should be thinking about is the academic fit, right? Does this college offer the programs that you want to study that will lead to the jobs that you want? The second is financial, right? How much debt are you going to take on? And there are a lot of different rules of thumb that you'll find in the kind of like ecosystem of higher ed. But one that I personally like from a nonprofit out of New York, that they say that you shouldn't take out more than $7,000 in student debt. And obviously, I'm putting aside the Islamic aspect here, right? There's a lot of theological concerns with taking out loans and interest and things like that. But there is a student loan crisis happening nationally, and it is definitely affecting the Muslim community as well. So just being aware of the financial costs that you're incurring when you choose to college is also very important. And then the last thing I'll mention is the campus culture. And that's really where the Muslim Campus Index and the resources that we've been developing really play a role. Knowing how Muslim friendly a college is and how friendly it will be to you. There are a lot of horror stories of Muslim students experiencing really terrible things on campuses. And there's something called the Clery Act, which is trying to document the number of hate crimes that take place on a college campus. But the reporting structure is not great, right? And so the data that we have on things like hate crimes and things like that are really underrepresented. And so just being aware of what the campus climate really is towards diversity and towards Muslims in particular can be really important. Okay. And so this is from the Muslim College Guide, actually. So these are just different factors you should be thinking about. Diversity and tolerance, like we just mentioned. The setting, right? Distance from home tends to be a big factor for a lot of Muslim families. Do they have Muslim organizations and programming on campus? Do they have a Ramadan program? Do they do Islam Awareness Week or, all sorts of other events, right? Those are all important things to keep in mind. Housing, services, etc. Okay. And this is a really great resource. I highly recommend you guys check out. It's called the College Scorecard. This was actually one of the last things the Obama administration released publicly. And basically, it gives you data on very specific things from colleges. So the average annual cost, the graduation rate, and the salary after attending. They actually connected IRS records to college graduate information to share real median salaries that people earned after graduating from those colleges. So you can get all the information you need and really make an informed decision around which college is best fit for you. And you can filter this by low income level, high income level, so you get a more accurate representation of what that might mean for you. Okay? Excuse me. All right, so let's jump into Campus Life 101 and succeeding in college. So a lot of talks like this, I think, will come out swinging and say, you need to focus on time management, you need to get organized, right? Get a schedule going, you need to network, you have to set goals and all these sorts of things. And all that I think is really important advice and all spot on. But I'm going to try to be more specific today to the extent that I can and try to incorporate some of this as well, inshallah. So if you have questions, again, feel free to ask. These are great principles, but I want to share some more detailed information. So the thing that I want to share first and foremost is that this is a new start, right? College is a brand new experience. And for the most part, you know, the people that you're going to see in college are not necessarily going to be the people that you knew in high school, right? And so really reflecting on who you want to be in college and beyond is so important, right? You can make a brand new vision of yourself, a brand new version of yourself. You could be in the library all day. Even if you weren't the best student in high school, this is a chance for you to start over, right? And I'm speaking from experience and just seeing different students that I've worked with, again, over the last 10 or so years. You can be, I've seen kids who are failing in high school come out and become 4.0 students, straight A's, and absolutely excel and crush it in college. You know, you can become someone who is a social butterfly, going to different clubs and organizations, getting involved in the community. You can become an activist, right? There's all these sorts of things that you can do. And so I think it's really, really important that you even just like literally lock yourself in a room and think, who do I want to be, right? And how do I want to become an adult? And what type of adult do I want to be, right? And so reflect on your path and then start to renew your intentions towards that path, right? Start to really set goals towards that path. And obviously the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, actions are but by intention and every man shall have but that which he intended, right? And so this idea of intentionality, I think, is at the core of what we're going to be talking about in terms of planning for college and preparing for college and jumping in. So as a Muslim, seek balance and moderation, but allow yourself a new start with grace and mercy, right? You might not go to the gym every day like you decide to or plan to, but as long as you're making progress towards that, that is a wonderful thing. But again, planning that out, making sure you're aware of those things and really being intentional throughout this process. Okay, so let's jump into academics. Academics are still a high priority in college. Your college GPA will follow you for a long, long time. Jobs will ask about your academic performance in college, graduate school, obviously, medical school, law school, etc. And even in public office, right? A lot of people, when Obama ran for office, they're all asking, you know, what was his transcript at Columbia? You know, when you get put in the public position, people want to know these sorts of somewhat random and idiosyncratic things. And so this is something that you should just be aware of and obviously take seriously. And again, even if you weren't the strongest student in high school, this is a chance for you to start over and really become an academic superstar. Taking ownership and knowing your why, right? Why are you here in this position? Are you just doing it because your friends are doing it? Are you doing it because your parents are doing it? Again, this is where you want to really take ownership and know why you're doing, you know, you're investing tens of thousands of dollars into this investment, right? Because college is an investment. And so is it because of the degree? Is it this intrinsic desire to learn? Do you want to go to grad school, et cetera? Whatever the reasons are, they are personal to you. But again, you should start to really be intentional, really start to think about why is it that I'm here, right? So maybe my parents brought me here. They pushed, you know, they got me to the door, but why am I walking through that door, right? Really thinking that through and understanding it. And if you really put a cost to it, depending on the school you're going to, you're paying anywhere from $1,000 to $5,000 per class, right? And so this is not, again, a small investment that you're making. And, you know, there's all sorts of study tips. You know, I'm not going to go into that. I think just, again, really being intentional, learn how you study as a person, right? Do you want to review your notes? Do you want to watch the recordings? Do you want to sit in the front of the class? That's all up to you. But again, understanding how you learn, how you study, and again, being really intentional. A lot of students in high school will just make it by because the classes might be easier or, you know, they just find it easier to navigate. But college is a different place. And, you know, professors are not going to be on you like your high school teachers to study, to, you know, pass and all these sorts of things. And so you're really going to be independent. And so thinking about how you study and, you know, how you're preparing before class, how you're taking notes, all this is going to be important to figure out. And again, find out what works for you. That's really a big piece of the theme today, is really just finding out what works for you. And again, being reflective and really setting your intentions around that. Okay, a quick note on faculty and professors. To learn more about faculty, definitely use the university's internal rating system. I think back in my day, people were using Rate My Professors. I think that's less common now. But, the university has an internal rating system that they have evaluations at the end of every semester. So read through what other students had to say, make sure it's a good class, it fits your interest, etc. And also, this is a small point, but an important point if you're thinking about long-term grad school or medical school, etc. Understanding the differences between an adjunct professor versus a lecturer versus a research faculty member, right? And so adjuncts are typically people who are part-time and working in other jobs, or maybe they're an adjunct at a bunch of different universities. But an adjunct is not someone necessarily who, if you're interested in medical school or interested in doing research in undergrad, they're not going to be connected to labs, right, or doing research or things like that. And lecturers are the same thing. A lot of times they're professional lecturers who had a lot of work experience. Maybe they had a high political position or something like that in the state or in the country, and then they become a professor who's considered like a lecturer. And so they're not really doing research either, right? And so research faculty are the ones who are going to be doing that. So just understanding those nuances before you invest time and energy into certain relationships is important. And that leads me to my next point, which is get to know some of your professors, right? I'm not telling you that you should go and connect with every single one of them. That's going to be, you spending way too much time doing that. But I think there are certain professors you should really be thinking about, right? And so professors who might be recognized in their field or rated highly. And again, if you're thinking about grad school or medical school, law school, this is going to make a big difference for you in your applications when you're thinking about those things, because these are going to be professors who other professors know at other universities. And so if they write you a letter of recommendation, it's going to go a long way. And for those, again, specific professors, attend their office hours, ask about assignments, career options, research interests, really develop a relationship with them so that you have someone who can write you a strong recommendation letter, who can refer you to jobs, right? Your professor has a lot of different connections. And so being close to, again, a few of them, having deep relationships with them can have a lot of benefit and return. And then explore research opportunities with these professors. I think everyone should really actually think about this. Regardless of what you want to do, I think there's a lot of credibility that you get from getting published. Research is a really interesting thing and profession. And obviously, there's a lot of respect that you get when you do this sort of thing. And depending on the time, I'm not saying, spend 40 hours a week doing research. Maybe you can join a lab and do a few hours a week. Just get a sense of what that looks like. And this will help with job prospects too, right? And again, if you're thinking about graduate school, this will help tremendously. So that's something to think about as well. And a lot of times universities will have research programs that incentivize students to go, or again, if you develop a relationship with a professor, you might say, hey, can I do research in your lab? And then you get a few hours a week of research. You can see what that's like. Maybe you hate it and you say, you know what, I'm good. I don't want to do that again. Maybe you actually enjoy it and you think, okay, maybe I should think about grad school. Maybe I should think about medical school, etc. And again, professors will write recommendation letters for you for future applications, jobs, graduate school, etc. Okay, finances. This is going to be very similar to the academics theme here. Understand your finances, right? You need to put your big boy pants on and really start to understand how much money you're spending. How much is it costing you to go to this college? And financial decisions in college will impact your life. There are so many Muslim students, like I said, who are being affected by the student loan crisis. I imagine some of you who are even watching this, right? And so really understanding the details of your finances. And so what scholarships or financial aid are available to you, right? Really being diligent about that. In terms of scholarships, even if you don't get a scholarship coming into a university, there are often scholarships that you can apply to if you keep a high enough GPA or get a high enough GPA your first semester or second semester. So being aware of those things as well to help pay for the cost. And then other opportunities as well beyond your university, right? A Continuous Charity is a wonderful organization based out of Dallas that's doing amazing work, providing non-interest-based loans to the Muslim community. Check them out as well. The Islamic Scholarship Fund, another wonderful organization that you should check out. They only fund certain programs and kind of like degree types, but another organization that you should be thinking about, right? So really being diligent about those opportunities and about the deadlines, obviously, as well, right? How much interest is accruing on your loans? What's the principal amount that you've borrowed? And what's the interest that's accrued on it, right? Understanding those two things is also critical. What are, income-driven repayment plans, right? Even, again, just really understanding, depending on your situation, obviously, some of you may not be in this situation, but if you are taking out student loans, being very, very diligent and fully understanding your options in terms of paying back those loans. Okay. In this situation, as a society right now, we're letting 18-year-olds take out $50,000 in student loans, all these crazy numbers, right? And a lot of times as a young student, you might not understand the implications of that. But there is a lot of research that shows, high interest loans delay marriage, delay home ownership, and have all sorts of negative financial consequences. And this is not within the Muslim community. I'm talking about general population, right? This is research that is agnostic to the religion, obviously, but just, again, the broader population. So these are things that are happening right now to thousands of people across the country. And use your college experience to really master your finances, right? Learn how to save money, know how much money you're spending going out. You want to go hang out with your friends, obviously. Know how much money you're spending, how much money are you allocating and budgeting. Attend workshops on campus. And around this specifically, there might be investment workshops, there might be workshops on tax returns, right? Go and figure out, there's a whole bunch of resources on campus that you can attend, but you have to seek those out, right? And really start to understand these things and practice self-discipline. And again, develop expertise and become a master of your own finances. Okay, facilities and resources. I would say that most students don't take advantage of the facilities and resources available to them. Almost every college is going to have a tutoring center. So if you are struggling in a class, you should be going and seeking help. There is no reason for you to be scoring less than a B in any of your classes, right? Being proactive, going to office hours with your professors, your advisors, going to extra tutoring, right? These are all free resources that you have at your fingertips that you're not going to have forever, right? And so to the extent that you can maximize your academics, really, really take advantage of these additional and supplementary resources. In terms of recreation, right? You can obviously exercise, play sports. You have access to these, world-class kind of facilities. Typically, there are even fitness programs for you. You can learn how to swim, properly train, etc. Right? Take advantage of those things. Counseling center, right? Dealing with your stress, mental, getting some therapy, whatever it might be. You have those resources. Therapy is very expensive, I'll tell you, after you graduate. But, in college, it's available, it's free. You might as well use it. IT support, career services. This is a big one. And we're going to talk about this in just a moment too. But really, most students are seeking out help with their career services office by the end of their junior year or beginning of their senior year. Really, you should start meeting with them right away, in my opinion. Build a relationship with them, get to know them, and then tell them, you build a relationship with someone from the career services office. I'm looking for these sorts of programs. Can you help me? And they'll start forwarding you internships to apply to. They'll start helping you out, right? And they'll look out for you. But really being diligent about that is so, so important. And then centers and research labs, there's speaking events, seminar series. If you want to go to grad school, there's often a lot of different seminars that you may not even be aware of. That, if you want to be a sociologist or something like that, or do even medical sciences or research in biology, there's going to be seminars around that each department probably hosts. And you can start going to those, again, build relationships, get to know the people there, maybe get a strong recommendation letter, get into a good PhD program, et cetera, right? But you have to put yourself out there and explore the college campus. In terms of Muslim campus life specifically, join your MSA. If you have an MSA, some colleges now have MSUs, right? Muslim student unions. And then maybe your campus doesn't really have either of those things. And so you can either start it, or maybe there's a broader Muslim community available to you that you can be a part of through, the local mosque or whatever it might be. But get involved and build the community you want, right? When we first started Muslim campus life, it was so interesting. A lot of students were really complaining about their experience with the MSA or the Muslim student organization on campus. But I think, it really comes down to you getting involved and helping shape what that community is about. I don't think you should be running away from the problem and saying, I don't want to be a part of this anymore. I think it's better that you, again, get a leadership role, get involved, have conversations, and really start to build the community that you want. And this is, again, something I'm going to say out of complete self-interest, but advocate for your needs on your college campus, right? Let the administration know that you want access to halal food, you want a prayer space, you want, flexible dorming options, and a chaplain, right? These are all resources that colleges are starting to provide. And you can reach out to me. I'm happy to talk and be a liaison with your university or get one of the chaplains to get involved, but really you have to start advocating for your needs. Colleges are not going to respond until you say something or make a ruckus. And I can share story after story. I've been talking to, administrators and staff in the higher ed space for the last 3 years through this project. And a lot of times they'll even tell me point blank, we're not providing the resources that Muslim students want because they're not saying anything, right? They're not letting us know that we know they need it, by the way, right? They know that Muslim students need these things, but they're not offering them because the Muslim students themselves are not advocating for themselves. So why are they going to go out of their way and start spending money on things that students aren't asking for, right? And so you have to ask for these things. You have to organize yourselves and start to ask for, more halal food options, again, a better prayer space, etc. Okay, so I think we're doing good on time. Akbar, are there any questions? Excuse me, so far?
I think we'll get to the rest of the questions at the end. As of right now, I think we're good with questions.
Okay.
And one more thing I wanted to add. Building a Muslim community on campuses that don't really have strong Muslim identities, I think, is a great opportunity for like each person over there, because although there may not be something existing, although it takes work, all great things aren't easy. And if you're able to build them or help, even in the smallest way to build a Muslim community, whether it's, 5, 10 to like 50 people, maybe even 100, or, a couple thousand if you're going to Rutgers, you get the good deeds, and you get something that you built with yourself, by yourself. I think it's a really big benefit. So whatever organization it is, if it's YM, MSA, or something else, I encourage that everybody, at least puts in a little bit of effort into it.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing I should add here too, MSA National has these great guides on their website. They're a little bit old, but they're actually really helpful in terms of advocating for a prayer space, advocating for a chaplain, right? Advocating for halal food. So I would check out their resources as well around that. Okay, let's keep going. So this slide is just meant for anyone who's thinking about graduate school, that's medical school, law school, after their undergraduate experience. So first and foremost, if you're thinking about school, more schooling, you have to focus on your GPA. The GPA is going to matter so much in terms of any medical school, law school, again, PhD, master's programs, MBAs. GPA, undergraduate GPA is going to be like a huge factor in that, right? And so take the necessary and recommended courses, right? So for medical school, for example, there are necessary courses that you have to take before you can even apply, right? So being aware of that, obviously, and taking the right courses, planning ahead, being diligent with that. And then typically your university will have advisors who are specialized in helping you apply to those certain tracks. So you'll have a pre-law advisor, a pre-med advisor, a pre-dental advisor, etc. So meet with them, and again, build a relationship with them. Let them know who you are, what your interests are, and let them know that you want their help and that they should be looking out for you and sending you opportunities and so on and so forth. You're going to have to prepare for standardized exams, right? The GRE, GMAT, LSAT. So let me break down. So the GRE is typically for PhD programs and some master's programs. The GMAT is typically for business schools, although a lot of schools now are accepting the GRE as well. LSAT, law schools, MCAT, medical schools, DAT, dental schools, and then the PCAT for pharmacy schools, right? So again, being aware of these things, preparing beforehand. A lot of times it's going to be just like high school. If you want to go right after undergrad, you're going to have to start taking these exams, your third year in college, studying for them in addition to your course loads, right? And so being diligent about this is also really important. Consider dual degree programs. A lot of times students don't even know these exist. You can do an MD, PhD. And if you get into those sorts of programs, they end up shaving time off of both degrees. And so, there's some benefit of doing them together. And then also during your college experience, similar to high school, right? You're going to have to pursue leadership positions in your clubs and community organizations like YM. You're going to explore internships and research opportunities, get recommendation letters from faculty. And again, hopefully you're developing those relationships over time. Being mindful of deadlines for graduate schools and fellowships. And then, obviously you should also think about you should also be thinking about working first before, seamlessly going into grad school. There's a lot of benefits to working first. The average grad student is definitely not 22, right? Coming out of undergrad, they tend to be older. And so, a lot of times the Muslim students I talk to are always in a rush, right? I want to shave off this 1 year. I want to graduate a year early from high school. I want to graduate a year early from college, right? I want to get into a 6-year MD program. So it's good to be efficient, but it's also good to understand and give yourself some space to reflect again and grow in different ways. And so, there's something to consider. Obviously, if you're very motivated, you want to go for it. But think about working first as well. And you can help pay off some of your student loans if you have them, save up some money, etc. These are just some prestigious fellowships I wanted to highlight for undergraduates in particular. So there's something called the Rhodes Scholarships, which is paid graduate studies to Oxford University in the UK. Truman Scholarship for students who are interested in public service or government. The Marshall Scholarship, similar to the Rhodes, except you can go to any British university for grad school. The Fulbright, it's a year-long project or research project, or you either do a research project or you teach English around the world, and it's a paid opportunity, right? The Soros Fellowship, this is if you're pursuing grad school and you come from an immigrant family. This is specifically for immigrant students, either the children of immigrants, first generation, or if you yourself are an immigrant. So it's a really good opportunity for a lot of Muslim families as well. The National Science Foundation, right? There's all these different fellowships. So if you are thinking about these things, definitely apply and look into these programs, right? And there's also going to be a fellowship advisor at your undergraduate university who you should talk to about these things and ask them, hey, I'm interested in a Fulbright in Jordan, or I want to do a Fulbright in Pakistan. I want to do a Fulbright in Bangladesh, wherever it might be. They can help you apply to those things, get those opportunities. And these all look great on your resume for jobs or for graduate school. So definitely think about these as well. Excuse me. So we'll jump through landing your first internship. I'll do this in 5 minutes so we can have some time for Q&A, inshallah. It'll probably be like 7-8 minutes, but let's go for it. So just in terms of, so we talked about graduate school, we talked about academics, finances, etc. So now let's think about if we don't want to go to graduate school, we want to go right into the workforce. How are we going to do that? So one of the key ways that you're going to get a job after undergrad, depending on the school you go to, obviously that plays a role as well, is by landing your first internship and getting more internships. So just very simply, what is an internship? It's a career. And, now there's also externships, depending on the school you go to. They might even help you do year-long experiences in companies as an externship. So depending on the school you go to, there might be different opportunities, but just generally speaking, what is an internship? It's a career-related learning opportunity that helps students learn more about a particular job or industry. They're typically short-term, usually lasting one academic semester, either in the fall, spring, or the summer. If it's in the fall or spring, it's typically part-time. If it's in the summer, it's typically full-time. Compensation is usually hourly pay, a lump sum stipend of a few $1,000s, or college credit with experience, right? And so obviously in those scenarios, you're not being paid. So why are internships important? There's a whole host of reasons, right? Expose yourself to a career, gain hands-on experience, right? Not just theoretical, but practical. There are so many students who I talk to who will start in a job and say, man, I really don't enjoy this job. Well, you had so much time to go and get real experience in that job before you committed to it, right? And I hear this a lot from doctors in particular, right? Who maybe they'll shadow a hospital, but they won't go and see what a specific specialty is like, right? And so they end up committing to a specialty, and then they go and start working that specialty, and they're like, oh my God, why did I pick this one, right? Like I heard it was good because dermatology is easy, but now I'm just looking at gross skin all day, right? Like being mindful of that, right? And really getting practical experience to understand what the job actually looks like is so, so important. And it lets you explore different companies that you may want to work for, right? Try before you buy approach, right? So get a sense of what the different company cultures are like, okay? Even if you're in software or computer science or data science, you might think, I just want to get a good job and get paid after graduation. But there's going to be some companies that have a very different approach than other companies, right? And so even the difference between like a Google and a LinkedIn, right? Or a Google and an Amazon, right? There are company cultures that are going to be different depending on the company you choose. And so really exploring that can be important. And so getting an internship can help with that. Obviously builds your resume and shows that you have actual work experience, widens your professional network, right? You're going to meet people, connect with them. You should have a professional LinkedIn page where you're connecting with people from your company. At the end of your internship, you should ask them, hey, can you write a, I forget what LinkedIn calls them. I can't think of it right now, but like those referrals or like kind of like a quote that they give on your behalf that you can add to your LinkedIn profile, right? You should be doing those things. And allows you to get references, a reference. That's what it is. allows you to get references for future jobs and internships as well. These are just some important statistics from the Bureau of Labor Statistics and the National Association of Colleges and Employers that I think are really valuable. So the National Association of Colleges and Employers does an annual survey where they're collecting information from students on their experiences. And so here are some really interesting things to think about. Only about 22% of college students complete an internship before they graduate. That is wild. Only 1 in 5 students. So a lot of them are going on the job market with no experience, little to no experience outside of maybe community organizing or like leadership in their school club, right? And the majority of those students who have internships are white students, right? And so even from, a lot of us might be coming from immigrant backgrounds or racially diverse backgrounds, there's an equity gap there too in terms of us taking advantage of these opportunities. And so it's really, really important that we start to think about taking internships more seriously as well. So 40% of internships are unpaid. And 67% of interns secure a full-time job after their internship. So a lot of times what happens is you get an internship and they might offer you a job by the end of the summer if you do well. And we'll talk more about that. And importantly, paid internships are 32% more likely to lead to a full-time job offer and have higher salaries as well, higher baseline salaries than unpaid internships, right? And so getting a paid internship before you graduate in particular is of absolute importance if you're trying to get a job after undergrad. And lastly, 66% of employers believe interview performance and relevant work experience are the most important factors in hiring after, again, your GPA and your academic performance in college, right? So being mindful of this is so, so important. Getting an internship and getting real experience on a job is incredibly valuable and will lead you to get a full-time job more easily and more seamlessly, right? And these are just some silly memes, but you may have seen these. These are maybe outdated. I should update these, but now you need GIFs actually, right? You can't even use stationary memes. But you're telling me I have to get experience before I get experience. One does not simply get your first job without experience, right? And you'll see these ads, right? These ads they trend on Twitter or whatever you might be using, social media platforms, and they basically just demonstrate that you do need to get experience before you can get a job, right? And so internships are the way for you to do that. Okay, so this a very rough and basic outline of the process. I recommend you start even in high school, right? Start getting unpaid internships in high school. Spend time shadowing a doctor. Spend time, if you want to be an accountant, for example, go see what an accountant looks like. You might have someone in your mosque who prays at your mosque who's an accountant. Go ask them, hey, can I spend every Saturday and Sunday working in your office, get a sense of what it looks like, right? Start getting real career exposure earlier on. But in the college space, even in your first year, you should be spending your summer, be involved in YM, get involved in your community, but also do an internship during the day, right? Get exposure to the real career that you want to have. And so start applying your first year of college for the summer to have an internship lined up. And that internship may not be paid, right? Earlier on. Ideally, you kind of get the unpaid internships out of the way earlier on where the stakes are lower. And then those unpaid internships will lead to paid internships by the time you're ready to graduate, right? And so by your second year of college, start looking for paid internships. And really the model is that you get a paid internship in your third year of college, right? You go work for PwC or Deloitte or whatever, the different companies, Google, Twitter, et cetera. You get that your third year, your junior year of college. And by the end of it, you have a job offer for the following year by the time you graduate. And so that senior year, you're just relaxing, right? Your senior year, you have a job lined up, you have a contract already in place, as opposed to the majority of students who their senior year, they're starting to meet with the career services office for the first time. And now the career service office knows nothing about them, right? It's too late in the game. They're going to just try to help them however they can, but it's going to be a little too late, right? And so they're going to be on their own looking for jobs, competing against students who have had internships and work experience in the past, right? And so if you put in the work your junior year, get that paid internship, do well in that paid internship, you will likely get a job offer at the end of it, okay? And just to be a little bit more detailed, obviously research companies, make a list of companies you might want to work for, attend career fairs, and visit your career center early. We mentioned this already. But your first career fair should not be in your senior year, in your last year, right? You want to be there earlier. Again, see what the environment is like, get exposure to what the career fairs look like, start to talk to the recruiters, hey, I'm interested in an internship at your company. What are the best processes? Can I set up a coffee chat with you after this so we can discuss this further, right? Start to do those sorts of things. That's what's going to lead you to getting a really good job. Obviously, update your resume. I used to have slides on how to update your resume, but now there are so many free resources online for industry-specific templates that you should be using. So if you're in a specific industry, go and get a specific industry type industry-specific template online and start to adapt it yourself. Write a cover letter. Typically it's 3 paragraphs. Introduce yourself, discuss your interest and fit for the position, and then you summarize and share your contact information. But again, even with the cover letter now, we're seeing so many resources available, and I'll share some of those in just a moment. And then you just apply, right? And with the cover letter, sometimes they say they're optional. I would send one, right? Always include a cover letter in the position that you're applying for. Apply and follow up. Now, and a lot of internships now are so easy to apply to. It's pretty wild, right? So it might be on the company website, might be a third party on LinkedIn. But the LinkedIn application features are actually really great. I don't know if you guys have used them before, but you connect your resume and it's almost like a click of a button and you've applied to the job, right? It's pretty amazing. And so you should be applying in numbers, right, to a lot of different places. Maybe through Indeed, which is another website. And then let any contacts of the company know that you applied. There's probably a YM alum who works at that company if it's one of the bigger companies. Let them know, hey, I applied to this job. And there's a part of the YM Professional Development Series is really to help connect people and network also right through the YM Alum Network. And so let them know that you applied. Hey, I'm so-and-so, I'm from this area. I just applied to this position. Can you endorse my application, right? And typically there is some internal endorsement mechanism that current employees can have, or maybe there's an internal referral service, right? So before you apply, you reach out to them, you let them know, and then they'll say, okay, I'm going to send you a referral link. It'll skip a few steps. It'll help you out. And then you can kind of skip through the process and inshallah get the job, right? Only one company has to hire you. So apply broadly. Don't feel bad. Don't feel sad if you don't get a specific job. Don't put all your eggs in one basket, right? Apply broadly and see what happens and do your best. And actually, in terms of context too, again, this is where the recruiter comes in. So if you go to these career fairs, you build relationships with the recruiters, you can let them know, hey, I just applied for the internship. Just wanted to check in with you, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. So I was just looking online, and so Harvard, has all these free resources around resumes and cover letters that you can read. They have sample templates. Berkeley actually has this amazing open source thing of, again, industry specific resume templates that you can follow, right? So for data science majors, urban studies majors, history majors, sociology transfer student, right? Like all these super specific scenarios. And so you can, consulting jobs, right? And so you can go on their website, borrow these templates, which are, state of the art, and just start to use them, right? This is from University of Texas at Austin, I believe. Again, just a lot of free resources that you can really use to amp up your resume. And so you don't need people like me anymore telling you how to build your resume. You are getting it served to you on a silver platter, right? This was from Princeton. They have a cover letter guide, an 8-page guide on how to write your cover letter with sample templates, again, giving you almost exact wording of what you should be including, right? So all of you should be using this in your first year of college. Start to develop your cover letter, start to develop your resume, have that ready to go and start applying to internships. Okay, not bad on time. So we'll end, inshallah, in just a minute. But just big picture, college is about transitioning into an adult and again, developing yourself with intentionality, right? Really being mindful of why you're doing things. Own your academics. You're not going to college for your parents anymore. You cannot be going to college because your friends are going to college. You are going to college for yourself, right? So you can get a job, so you can go to grad school, so you can get this degree, right? These are for you. And so you have to own this process. No one's going to earn that A except for you. So you have to put in the work to get there, right? So own your academics, own your finances, right? Student loans are taken out in your name, by the way. These are not taken out in your parents' name. There are Parent Plus loans, to be fair, but the majority of the student loans are going to be taken out in your name, right? And so you are responsible for these loans at the end of the day, right? And so being mindful of that. And then understanding the nuances, again, of the loans that you're taking out. Subsidized loans versus unsubsidized loans, right? And even with subsidized loans, the rules are always changing. So you have to be mindful, right? When I was in undergrad, subsidized loans didn't collect any interest on them until 6 months after you graduated. By the time I finished undergrad, they had changed the rules. where subsidized loans started to collect interest the day you graduated, right? And so now there's an additional 6 months of interest you have to worry about if you took those out, right? So again, being mindful of those finances is very important. And then again, your career journey, getting those internships, getting involved, going to these career fairs, talking to your career services center, networking with different professionals who come to campus, all that is on you to figure out. And then establish routines for physical and mental health. Maybe I didn't highlight this enough, but even with the gyms, like you have access to these amazing gyms on campus. Really start to think about your physical health and how you want to develop yourself. And again, you have access to these mental health resources as well. Expand your social network, build community, explore new classes and experiences, and deepen your faith, all while deepening your faith, inshallah. And college will pass by quickly, right? And quote unquote, real life will begin afterwards, unless you end up going to grad school or something like that. But, for a lot of people, real life will begin, right? You might think about marriage, you might be thinking about buying a house, etc. Right? So try to minimize your regrets by planning ahead. And again, being intentional about how you're using your time, the life that you're building, right? And the goals that you have for yourself, and use this time wisely. And just lastly, we have the famous hadith, the 5 before 5 hadith. And the key thing that I think college really embodies is this idea of using your free time before your busyness, right? You are in this space where you have all this free time that you can fill however you want, right? And again, with intention. But afterwards, life, again, it might start. You might get married, you might start to have kids. You'll be working full time depending on the company, right? And so you're going to have a lot less free time. And so I think college is like that perfect, real embodiment of this idea of your free time before your busyness. Okay. So with that, I'll finish, inshallah. So again, download the Muslim College Guide, share that widely. If you're in high school, share that with your school counselors, public school, Islamic school, whatever it might be. If you have siblings, cousins, etc., who are in high school, please share this with them, and freshmen as well. I think this is relevant to you guys as well. Again, Muslim Campus Index, fill this out. If you don't see your college on there, we need to add every college, inshallah, that we can, and really start to understand what resources are available to Muslim students. And thank you guys so much, inshallah. If you have any questions, feel free to email me, and then check out our website. And if you can scan this QR code for the feedback form, I would really, really appreciate it.
Awesome. Jazakallah khair. Thank you again, Brother Salman, for giving such an enlightening event. I definitely learned a lot, and I'm sure other people have learned a lot. We'll move on to some questions now. And these are from some people who have registered for this event. One of the biggest questions I'm getting is academic related. So the first question is how to stay disciplined and focused on current goals without worrying for future events. So there are some examples listed, like sticking, just going through the work, forcing yourself through the work, but at the same time also having like sincere tawakkul in Allah. Like, where do you get that purpose or motivation that sometimes might be hard to find in college?
Yeah, great question. I think, this really starts with this idea of this is a brand new start, right? Who you were in high school is not who you are in college. And again, there are so many students who I can think of who really flipped the script and they weren't the best student in high school, and they became really they became the kids who were tutoring other kids in advanced, engineering classes and, business classes, etc. Right. So I think recognizing that this is a fresh start, number one, first and foremost. Number two, try to avoid getting burnt out. You might be doing too much, right? Also, and just getting overly involved. And that's something you want to be mindful of as well. Maybe pull back on certain things to really focus. You want to make sure your academics are in order first and foremost, right? Like I said, that college GPA is really going to follow you for a long time. So really making sure that you invest the time and energy, thinking about, again, how you study and how you succeed in your classes. One thing I'll say about our community, especially if you are an immigrant or the child of immigrants, is we are happy to suffer in silence, right? We are trained to suffer in silence, right? And so being able to speak up and say, I need help from your professor. I'm saying go to office hours, and there's some of you who are squirming in your seat. Like, that's never going to happen, right? You need to go and put yourself out there and say, hey, I don't understand this. You need to help me. This is their job to help you, right? And so making sure that you are taking advantage of those resources is so critical, right? You have access to academic tutoring services. you could reach out to your department and say, hey, I need help with this class, and they'll find someone to help you. Right? Colleges are designed for you to succeed in, right? Like the amount of offices now that exist around mental health and, again, academic services, the writing center, right? There's all these crazy things. And especially if you're commuting maybe, or again, you just maybe feel shy, you need to break out of that 100%. Like this is the time for you to go and test it out. Go to office hours, get the help you need, speak up, advocate for yourself, right? In terms of what your needs are. And then again, also reflect on who you are. Maybe you don't need to go to every lecture. Maybe you can watch the recording in 2x speed, take notes, and that's good enough for you. But you have to kind of experiment and kind of learn that what's going to be best suited for you.
Yeah, exactly. And from my side, I would have to say that if you're able to answer the question, and the answer always changes over time, but if you're able to figure out who you are as a person, like what you believe in, what habits you want to stick with, what kind of goals you want to reach in life, that definitely goes a long way. And people say writing it down is, I think the saying is like writing the problem down is 50% of the solution. That's what I did. And I found out that this semester alone has helped me a lot compared to myself just once, like 6 months ago. So I definitely think college is also a place where you get a lot of personal improvement and development. And you just kind of have to also learn from your failures because you're going to come across from them. We have 2 more questions.
Sorry, let me just add one more thing there. So, there's this great quote. I'm not saying it fully correctly, but you'll understand the idea, which is like you overestimate what you can do in a short amount of time. Right. And so you might be pushing yourself to work out and go to class and get involved in the community, go to YM on Friday night, right? And do all these sorts of things. You're going to burn out. But you underestimate what you can do in a long time period, right? And so over the course of 4 years, if you're just being consistent, doing small steps, right? Even from our own tradition, right? From the Islamic tradition, we know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves the small and consistent things that we do, right? And so this is a perfect application for us in this moment, right? Working out, maybe you set a schedule of 3 days a week instead of 5 days a week, right? Whatever it might be. But really, again, figuring out what works for you and working towards that success is so important. And we didn't talk about this today almost intentionally because, I'm not here to lecture anybody about this specifically, but, also your social life in college can go in a lot of different directions, right? And being mindful of who you're surrounding yourself with, being mindful of the friends that you have, right? How are they kind of influencing you, right? And, there's so many, again, this is from our own tradition, right? The Prophet ﷺ said, you'll follow the religion of your friends, right? And so being mindful of who you're surrounding yourself with and making sure that they're not, creating a negative environment for you socially or personally is also very, very important.
All right. Yeah. Very well said. Here's another question for you, Brother Salman. I think you'll like this one. I don't know how in depth you can get into it, but this is your expertise. The question is how to pay for college in a halal way without a loan.
Yeah, it's a great question. And a very, very, very important question. Like the student crisis is we talked about financial aid last time, 6 months ago, roughly. But you should go watch that webinar first, right? First and foremost, I think that's a good idea. But, again, being very mindful of your finances is so, so important. Number one, you should be talking to your parents, right? If they're, if you can, talk to them about the situation, plan with them ahead of time. This is what my college tuition is. These are the full expenses. How can you guys help me? Can I, inshallah, they can help you straight away. If they can't, maybe they can help you with some sort of borrowing situation, whatever it might be, but talk to them first and foremost. Then you have to be a shark about scholarship opportunities, right? Merit-based scholarships are going to be the most lucrative opportunities that you have, right? And so even if you don't come into a college with a scholarship, if you get Dean's List, an honor roll and those sorts of things and maintain a high GPA, you'll be eligible for different scholarships that come up. And so being mindful of those as well, right? And so then I mentioned a continuous charity. That's an organization that's, growing, mashallah. That's a nonprofit that is providing non-interest-based loans to Muslim students. So definitely check them out as well. Depending on your major, like I said, Islamic Scholarship Fund, ISNA has a few scholarships listed on their website. I don't know how, that list hasn't been updated in a long time. I check on it every now and then. So either it's I imagine it's easy to get because it's not very competitive, or maybe it's out of date. But those sorts of opportunities, check them out as well. You want to just be very diligent about this, right? Your finances make such a big difference, right? The amount of student loans, there's Muslim students who are graduating highly in debt, who are struggling to, then get married, right? Move on, has all sorts of negative consequences. So really, really being intentional about it. And I'm sure there are people who are watching who can share their own story. But again, at 18, you're getting access to $20,000 in student loans, $50,000 in student loans, right? And you're making these decisions based on, oh, my friend is going to that college I want to go to, right? Not on, hey, that college has a great ROI, right? I did the research. I looked on the college scorecard. I saw what the annual salary is after graduating, right? How often are you having those sorts of conversations with your friends as opposed to, oh, that place looks so fun, or that's where all my friends are going, so I want to go there too, right? Being really intentional about this is so important.
Of course. Again, I appreciate all the knowledge that you shared with us today. I think we're closing in on our time. So I think if anybody else has any questions for you, they can, you have your email up here that they can send to you. Jazakallah khair again. I really appreciate the help. Is there anything else that you'd like to share, or should we wrap it up?
Definitely. One thing I'll just say is, mashallah, the YM network is huge, right? And so if you have questions about your specific career, again, this is, easier than going to your professor in office hours and sitting with them one-on-one, is reach out to YM and say, hey, I'm thinking about a job in data science. I'm thinking about a job in cybersecurity. I'm thinking about becoming a doctor. There is a YM alum who is active, who probably does that thing already. And so can start to mentor you, give you guidance, give you information, right? Who might work at one of these companies that you want to work at. So you are not alone in this process, right? And that's one of the beautiful things about us as, again, a lot of us might be coming from immigrant families. We are building a network from the ground up. And so you have to take advantage of that network, right? Be a part of that process, get help from an alum. Inshallah, one day you'll pay it forward. And that's how you really build community. So don't be shy, ask for help, right? We're here to help you guys. So get in touch, inshallah.
Of course, yeah. And the professional development team of Young Muslims National did host this event. And we have a lot of mission statements and a lot of objectives. And one of them is our main one is connecting YM alumni with current and existing members. So if you're interested in a specific industry that you want to get into, if you're in high school, college, or just graduated, you can email anyone on the national team. My name's Akbar Pathan. You can find me easily. I'll send my email out with the attendee form. But yeah, we'd be happy to help you. All right, it's 9:01. I think we can wrap it up now. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. And we always end off with Surah Al-Asr. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا والصالحات تواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. Assalamu alaikum. Jazakallah khair, brother Salman, again.